Welcome back to Midnight Archive, a weekly anthology podcast featuring the works of indie and trad pub authors, human voices in the age of artificial intelligence. Each week we offer up to you a sample of a writer's work, a few chapters from one of their books, or perhaps a short story. These stories were submitted to us and narrated by either myself, KG Heath, or a guest narrator. Our values here are simple: great stories, high quality narration, and no AI. And so it's time to discuss this week's offering, They Prefer It Hidden by Kenneth Falb. Kenneth Falb first started writing in the lunchroom of his middle school. Now as a debut author, he wants to make sure his stories are seen by everyone. Kenneth writes stories that blend the normal with the supernatural. In his stories, expect wizards in gas stations, ghosts arguing over coupon prices, and a rock that talks sports. When he isn't writing about the bazaar, Kenneth is either playing tabletop games or trying to save feral cats outside a Dollar General. Tonight we read from chapters 4 to 8 of They Prefer It Hidden, an urban fantasy novel following new occult investigators. Now here's more about this book. Looking for purpose isn't easy, but finding it is even harder. New questions arise from it. How will I make money? Who am I doing this for? Now imagine asking all that while fighting zombies and invisible monsters. Jonathan Whitlock inherits the job of occult investigator from his late uncle. Now he has to defend the unfamiliar town of Helford, a place that attracts secret societies and the supernatural. Its need for normalcy requires someone like Jonathan. With the help of his warlock friend Tomas, find out how Jonathan learns to navigate the strange and secretive. Please show your support for Midnight Archive by liking, subscribing, or commenting. Every gesture helps us reach more listeners. These stories deserve to be heard. And so it's time for tonight's offering. Close the door, turn off the light, and get into your bed. Just you, your phone, and your headphones. This is Midnight Archive. They Prefer It Hidden. Chapter 4. I'd never been in the mayor's office before, but I expected it to be a lot bigger. Instead, it was the same size as the 5 other offices we had to pass to get there. What separated the mayor's office from the rest was the desk. The thing was heavier than a granite slab and stretched from one side of the room to the other. Its reflection put mirrors to shame, giving only a slight tint of lacquered mahogany. Showing up earlier than expected, we waited while the mayor dealt with other issues. I sat still, hands clasped. Tomas, on the other hand, played with the desk's paperweights. Tomas had felt antsy after a month of doing nothing at my uncle's house. He'd been unemployed the whole time, still struggling to link the passions he had in magic with a steady income. By the time I'd gotten the call from the mayor, he had already used every coloring book and jigsaw puzzle in the house. I didn't see a problem with him coming. I had no idea what I was doing either way.
Dude, this is so cool. On your second mission, and you're already getting calls from politicians.
Tomas pointed over to one of the mayor's decorations.
She even has a holographic clock.
Mayor Harriet Meyley opened her office door and said,
"Oh, great. You're on time. Good sign."
Hearing her voice, Tomas scrambled to place the paperweight back where it was. In one motion, he placed it on the table, clasped his hands, and straightened his back. He moved his head around, nodding in a way that was supposed to be unassuming. Harriet Meyley tilted her head, but continued like it never happened. From the little Tomas had told me, Harriet Meyley was a piece of male royalty. Her family kept a tight grip on Helford's politics. For as long as people could remember, if someone needed strings pulled, they would ask for a Meyley. That ability to make things happen had made them both heroes and villains to the people in the town. Harriet was the newest Meyley on the block, and thus unproven. Because of that, Helford had yet to form an opinion about her. Harriet shook my hand and said,
"It's nice to meet you, Mr. Whitlock. My father had amazing things to say about your uncle."
"Thank you. I hope you'll feel the same about me," I said.
"I'm sure I will."
Harriet then turned to Tomas.
And you're? Thomas Sear. I'm his new partner, Tomas said. I thought your name was Tomas, I whispered. I don't know her like that, he whispered. All right, let's see, Harriet said under her breath. Her desk went from wall to wall, and she needed to get to the other side. She shimmied around us. Excuse me, pardon me, sorry, yep, oh, there we go. Sliding over the top of her desk, she managed to get to the other side, though not without knocking over a few pens and paper. Harriet sighed. Okay, now let's talk about your job. I'm listening, I said, leaning forward. Things have been going fine, but that's sort of the issue. It's fine but not great. I need something good to stay in office, and that's where you'll come in. Opening one of her drawers, Harriet dropped an old grey photo in front of us. The photo was of a forest, at the centre of it a figure. Its eyes glowed from the camera flash, two whites piercing the dark. Even with its hunched stature, the creature towered high. It had to be at least 7 feet. This is Basket Case, Harriet said. The heck is she? I asked. Ever heard of those basket women? Those monsters to scare kids into behaving? Well, turns out they're more than just stories, Harriet said. Oh yeah, my grandma told me about her. Freaky, Tomas said. Eyeing the creature, I realized Uncle Whitty may have warned me about her too. He always did tell me not to go into the forests alone. What do you know about Basket Case? I asked. Harriet grabbed one of her drop pens, clicking it. Apart from her victims, not much. We sort of relegated that responsibility to your uncle. Basket Case kidnapped children. At first she did so in the forest, but something caused her to move deeper into the town. What happened to the kids? I asked. I was always told she eats them, Tomas remarked. You'd think, but actually it's even more strange. Well, your uncle mostly, we were to find the kids totally feral. Takes months to help them to readjust, Harriet said. I leaned back, pressing my finger against my lip and nodding. I see. You want me to take care of Basket Case. Harriet looked at me confused. What? No. She gave a lukewarm smile. You have me mistaken. I don't want you to get at Basket Case. Not even your uncle could do that. Oh, what do you want me to do? I asked. My family has dealt with Basket Case for a very long time, and we've come up with our own system. Whenever elections were close, maybe a year or so in advance, we'd send your uncle down to Basket Case's lair, where he'd then save a few children from her gnarly little fingers. Makes for great photo shoots, Harriet explained. Aren't you just repeating the same problem over and over again? I said. People need problems, Mr. Whitlock. It's what brings them to the polls. My brother, when he was mayor, didn't do the same. And what happened to him? He didn't end up re-elected. Tomas spoke up. I thought he wasn't re-elected because of the incident. The what's-ident? I said. We don't talk about the incident. Harriet got up from her desk and walked to the window, opening the blinds to reveal a brick wall. Either way, I need those children rescued. Otherwise, people will think I did nothing as mayor. While Harriet stared out the window, Tomas and I shot a look at each other. She really didn't, Tomas mouthed to me. Harriet turned around and asked us, So, what'll be your price? At deeper viewing, there was little going on for Harriet Mealy. If she got re-elected mayor, at best, a few park benches would get set up. I couldn't with good conscience say yes to perpetuating this, but I also couldn't blow her off. She was still the mayor. All there was to do now was highball and hope she wouldn't want to pay. I'd be risking a lot to do this, so I can't be cheap. 10 grand is my starting offer, I said, grabbing 2 pieces of gum from my pocket for Tomas and me. All right, I can do that, she said. I almost swallowed the gum I was chewing on. Really? I exclaimed. I mean, yeah. You are professional occult investigators, right? Harriet said. Tomas and I traded looks. Make it 12 grand, I said. Done. Woo, hot tub, here we come, Tomas said. I don't think you know how much a hot tub costs, I said. Not with that attitude, Tomas said back. I'll send a quarter of the payment up front and the rest after you do the job. A pleasure doing business, Harriet said, again shaking our hands. Eyeing the paycheck up and down, it made a bit more sense why Uncle Whitty would stoop to do Mealy's dirty work. We left the moment we got a chance both to prepare and to freak out over the first big job without Mealy seeing us. Chapter 5. If I was a basket case woman and wanted to kidnap children, the first place I'd look is a playground. That's the best explanation I can give for us staking out a children's playground late at night. We were close to downtown, right beside the outside sculpture called Garbage Day. Describing Garbage Day would be a disservice to it. All I can say is I never imagined a melted plastic man would make me feel so melancholic. Wood chips pattered the area, the kind that got lost in shoe soles. The seesaw and slides stood still, colored a deep green. Street lights saturated the sidewalks and basketball court. Deep shadows projected down the chain-link fence. We watched from afar in the parking lot, using binoculars my uncle stored away for bird-watching. It must have been a short hobby, since they were in mint condition. Tomas and I sat in my beat-up Corolla, eating donuts we got as a stakeout snack.
"So, with Basket Case, what's the plan when we see her?"
Tomas asked. My uncle did write a bit about her. He says that if you place a creepy-looking doll around, she'll get distracted by it long enough for us to snag a few kids to safety, I responded.
"You saying she brings a purse full of kids, like she's running errands?"
Tomas asked. Yep, that's the safest way to rescue a few feral kids. The dangerous way is following her and finding her current lair, I said. Tomas wiped his hands of sprinkles.
"Sure hope you got some defenses for if she finds us."
Do you? I said.
Uh-huh. Check it.
Tomas pulled out an electric shaver. Tapping the button, Tomas's hand began vibrating with the shaver. I was not impressed. What are you planning to do with that? I asked.
"That's a surprise,"
Tomas said. Then my thing will be a surprise when we get the doll, I said back. Tomas let out a small "Aw" as he turned off the shaver. While we're waiting, tell me about the incident. The one about Harriet's brother, I said.
"I don't know why. It's got nothing to do with this,"
Tomas said. It's not really crazy to be curious about stuff like that, I said, looking through my binoculars.
"I guess. People in Helford aren't really asking questions like that."
Percival Mey, Harriet's brother, had to step down as mayor of Helford over an incident which nearly tainted his entire family. It's something people only talk about in whispers behind veils thicker than tar. Despite being a blue-blooded member of the established Mey dynasty, Percival was a fresh start compared to his ancient father. Having received a blank check from his family, Percival was guaranteed to win. Things were great at the start. In a town where stasis was the norm, Percival pushed for new things to be built. Forests were hacked away, old homes brought low to kiss the ground they were built off of. Parking lots, superstores, and chain restaurants were being planned and built, a tombstone to what came before. The dead, however, refused to accept defeat. Old artifacts cropped up from these sites, omens that Percival pushed aside for further progress. Since its inception, Helford was always a strange place. It was a hotbed for secret societies and filled to the brim with the esoteric. What was originally superstition for Helfordorians transformed into an outright aversion to the supernatural. To them, the best way to cope with the occult was to lock it away and bury the key. It worked for a while, but absence bred ignorance. Many people warned Percival not to dig deeper, but he disregarded all of them. My uncle was the loudest.
"Don't forget, some things I hid on purpose,"
my uncle had always said to me. It wasn't hard to imagine him saying the same to Percival. One day, someone stranger than lies arrived in town. Grey, sunken skin made tight by staples. Dark, old money suit tailored for a funeral. Red marks under eyes like fingernail scratches. Sparks flew off him and rippled over whatever he touched. It didn't take a genius to know he was beyond even the supernatural. He gave one reason and one reason only for being there, to speak with the mayor about the big changes being made. Percival obliged with a self-satisfied grin. He had convinced a lot of people into things they would never accept otherwise. It would be absurd to think that this stranger would be any different. The story goes that Percival invited the stranger into his home. 10 minutes passed, and the house exploded. Ground leapt into the sky. Glass and splinters rained onto the sidewalk. No one could have survived. Yet Percival did. He emerged from the resulting crater and on the spot gave up his job as mayor. The stranger was nowhere to be found. Helfordorians got the message, taking the omen as another lesson why the supernatural should be hidden away at all costs. All of this info was a shock to me.
Local politics were a bloodbath. Though, as Tomas told the story, one question crept through my mind. Whatever happened to Percival?
I don't know,
Tomas shrugged. Really? You guys acted all mysterious over this incident, and you can't even tell me what happened to him? I said.
Look, man, people didn't want to talk about him after all that occult stuff,
Tomas said. Whatever. Let's get the creepy doll. I'm done waiting, I said. Getting out of the car, Tomas and I walked over to the back. Like a magician, I presented the trunk with as much fanfare as possible. Opening it, I revealed a bomber jacket, utility belt, a wooden case, and a creepy doll. Tomas shielded his face from the doll.
Jeez, what is that?
Porcelain skin and eyes rattled in a still head. Its hands were set in place in a sort of fabric rigor mortis. I picked up the limp doll from the trunk. Despite how creepy it was, it had none of the qualities of a haunted doll described in my uncle's journals. Trust me, I checked. What? I asked. Tomas stepped away.
She looks like the victim of a divorce between two scary clowns.
I named her Matilda, I said, brushing away her fake hair.
Boo!
Tomas jumped.
Dude, quit it!
Okay, I'll stop. I pulled my hands back. But could you hold her a while I get my dope new magic jacket on? Tomas glared at me. He sighed, grabbing the doll and holding it like a used diaper. I presented the jacket to Tomas, showing each little detail of it. Quilted shoulders, 6 pockets, well insulated.
Yeah, but what's the magic part?
Tomas interrupted. All right. I pointed out the strange sewing on the quilted parts of the jacket. These symbols help to absorb any hits made against the jacket.
Sweet. What's its limits?
That's for me to find out, I answered, putting on the jacket. Now for the big reveal. Lifting up the lid of the case, I displayed the same revolver I had shot myself with, placed within a foam cast. Carved into the barrel were the words "Final Line," along with that read Carnacki & Co. on the revolver's grip. Reading my uncle's journals, I discovered that this revolver has the unique ability to harm only monsters.
You got ID for that?
Yes. It's a magic revolver, so I don't know if you can even register it, I said. Tomas went quiet, handing me the doll after I holstered the revolver.
I'm going to get arrested hanging out with you,
Tomas said. Don't worry, the gun can't kill no more people. I checked. Tomas gave me a side-eye that would make anyone worried. Running into the playground, we looked for a good place to put the doll. After a bit of confused running, we made our way to a spinning chair by the jungle gym. As I placed the doll, Tomas tugged at the back of my jacket. What? I asked. Tomas pointed over to the other side of the playground. A group of young kids were sitting by the slides, playing with their phones.
Oh no, they're gonna ruin the whole plan by being here, I said. Let's scare them away,
Tomas said. Is that really the best way of going about this? I asked.
I don't know,
Tomas shrugged. I couldn't argue with that. We walked over to the kids. All of them were around middle school age, the meanest age range. They were all drawn to their blue screens, playing some clicker game. Tomas cleared his throat, crossing his arms when the kids noticed. Sup, Tomas said with a deepened voice. The closest kid looked side to side and over her shoulder. She had colorful bracelets running up and down her right arm. Realizing we were talking to her, she responded, Can I help you?
What are you 3 doing out so late?
Tomas said, pointing at the kids one at a time.
What does it matter to you?
The bracelet kid asked back.
Nothing at all, just things are pretty dangerous around this time,
Tomas said, hands in pockets. I leaned into Tomas's ear and whispered,
What are you doing, man? We can't threaten children. I was,
Tomas whispered.
Wait a minute, the farthest kid said. I've seen you before.
Tomas and I went still. Oh yeah? I said.
Yeah, you're the weirdo 2 houses over from my house, the farthest kid said.
Tomas brought back the deep voice.
What are you talking about? I'm no weirdo. Oh my God, he is,
Bracelet Kid said. The middle kid pulled a video from their phone, showing it to the rest of the kids. Peeking over a fence, it showed Tomas dancing in his old wizard garb, waving a stick in the air.
Hey, that can be cool,
Tomas said. It doesn't need to be cool, you just need to be. Bracelet Kid said back, the other kids erupting in laughter. I stepped in, patting Tomas on the shoulder. Look, we're just trying to do something important, and we can't have you running around while it happens, I said. Is that your doll? The middle kid said, pulling their phone out to record it. Yeah? Look, what can we do to get you to leave? I asked him. So weird, the middle kid said. Bracelet Kid looked up, thinking, $100 will do. Come on, what do you need $100 for? I said. I don't know, but the cops would be asking the same thing on why you're giving little kids money, the farthest kid said, the middle kid bringing their camera on me. I sighed. Okay, just delete the video and you have a deal. Deal, the kids said in unison. I didn't have $100 with me, so Tomas and I spent a minute trying to pull some cash. As we pulled our cash, a strange shiver carried up my spine. I stopped, looking over to Tomas. He stopped. The same look painted his face. Dude, Tomas said. Yeah? I said. In front of us. A soft glow went over the 3 middle schoolers. Their eyes were looking through us. Their shoulders were sunken, their arms limp. They all had dropped their phones, the blue light put out by this new overbearing light. Tomas and I hesitated to see what was over our shoulders, our heads struggling to turn past the sickening fear. The glow came from 2 hollow yellow eyes. Its light silhouetted a matted mess of seaweed-like hair. A basket rested at the creature's hip. It held 3 small children who were gnawing at the air like piranhas. More children orbited around her. Their eyes were milk-white, sporting mouths filled with rows of teeth. They stood still, waiting for their master's command. So, you must be Basket Case, I said. You're a lot taller than I hoped you'd be. She remained silent. Okay, I guess we'll get going, I said. The 3 middle schoolers leapt onto our backs. Wrapping around our necks, they attempted to halt us down. 2 of the middle schoolers tackled Tomas to the ground. I held myself up, gripping onto the kid's wrist so she wouldn't strangle me. With Basket Case's other children approaching, I threw the kid off my back and over my shoulder. The middle schooler hit the wood chip floor, the other children stepping away to avoid her. The breath knocked out of her, she rolled about on the ground. My body froze. My mind was still processing what I had just done. Oh my God, did I? I said. Screw them kids! Tomas yelled. Knocked from my thoughts, I ran over to pull the 2 other middle schoolers from Tomas. Once I freed him, I pushed the 2 kids into the crowd of evil children in front of us. Tomas shot up from his prone position, breathing heavily. He pulled out the shaver and looked at me. Do you trust me? Tomas asked. Doesn't matter, I responded. Keep her occupied, he said. Tomas and I split to flank the massive monster kids. Basket Case's eyes followed my every move, ignoring Tomas. She might not know who I was, but she knew my uncle's jacket, the same jacket worn by a man who was a constant thorn in her side. Basket Case stepped away, letting her ravenous children do the work of catching me. I got as close as I could, keeping their eyes focused on me. Just as I got a few feet from Basket Case, a wave of kids tackled me to the floor. I blocked my face as sharp teeth attempted to dig into my sleeves. The magic did its work, the kids unable to break any skin that my jacket protected. The parts it didn't protect, however, made me wish my uncle had instead bought a magically protected jumpsuit. I tried to wrestle free, to no avail. Basket Case stepped closer and closer to me. Her glowing eyes enveloped my entire view. Breaking part of my guard, my right hand reached for the ground and grabbed a handful of wood chips. When my arm was free, I threw the wood chips into the eyes of Basket Case. If life had taught me anything, it was to aim for the glowing thing. Basket Case lurched backwards as hundreds of tiny pieces lodged in her eyes. For the first time, I heard a sound come from her, a screeching sound like a mix between mice and scratching chalkboards from hell. She rubbed her eyes, her pain made manifest with each breath. Her children froze, getting up from the pile they made on top of me. They looked like they came awake from a half-broken spell. While Basket Case was distracted, Tomas activated his shaver, shaving a big line of hair from Basket Case. Tomas grabbed whatever hair he could and ran towards the jungle gym. I ran with him. Clearing her eyes, Basket Case took control of her children once again and sent them after us. Climb, I said to Tomas. We climbed up to the top of the jungle gym. The children chased after us, their clawed hands attempting to bring us back to ground. Once at the top, I did my best to play defense. Any kid that got near Tomas, I would push or throw off. Soon the kids grew smart. They crawled inside the jungle gym, attempting to pull us down by our ankles to rip us limb from limb. Stomping their fingers, I yelled to Tomas, "Whatever you're doing, do it now!" Tomas held a makeshift quartz amulet, basket case's hair tied in and around the string and crystal. Tomas closed his eyes and began to chant. At this point, Basket Case had left the killing to her children and was now transfixed on the creepy doll. Each second Tomas chanted, the children gained more and more ground, filling the spaces of the jungle gym like fish in a net. Just as the children were welling up towards us, Tomas finished his chant. A soft pink light blasted out from the gem. Recoiling from the crystal's light, the children scattered like a drop of water. Even Basket Case stepped away and blocked the light from our eyes. All her children cowered behind her, peeking their faces around her massive figure. Having distance between us and her, I got ready to grab my pistol and fire at her. I wavered, seeing the children surrounding her. "What are you doing? Shoot her!" Tomas said. "I can't. What if I hit a kid? Are they technically monsters while under her spell? And if so, will my gun hurt them?" Taking advantage of my hesitation, Basket Case began to devise her own spell. Her rasping voice echoed through the playground. Symbols the same color as her eyes flashed in the air like lightning bugs. "Hey, can your spell counter whatever that is?" I asked Tomas. "No, I'm not magic, Jonathan," Tomas said back. "That's literally why I brought you here, Tomas," I said. "I'm fighting her with bargain bin spells. I'm not that kind of magic," Tomas said. In between all of this, I realized I might die at a godforsaken playground. A part of me wanted to give up and let whatever happens happen, yet I knew doing just about anything would be better than nothing. I hopped off the top and yelled, "Hey, Miss Amber Alert!" Basket Case stopped her chant and put her attention back on me. "I have no idea what I'm doing," I shouted. "She is going to kill us," Tomas said. "You don't think I know that?" I said to Tomas. Putting my attention back on Basket Case, I continued. "You've known my uncle for a long time. He's brought the rain on your parade for the past decade. And seeing it now, I think I'll just end this whole cycle these idiots have put up with for their own gain. I may know nothing about you, but I do know beginner's luck. That's what I'm counting on. So come get me, you 8-foot soccer mom. I got one life to live." Basket Case stared at me, and then at the porcelain doll I left her. She grabbed the doll and turned her back on me. The Mad Kid mob followed their mother, walking off into the darkness. The air felt still, a cold chill hitting my forehead in waves. "What the hell did you just do?" Tomas said. I smiled, breathing in and out. "Easy. I made her pity me."
Chapter 6.
One rule about the pity maneuver, you can't use it on the same person twice. Next time we saw Basket Case, we'd have to play to win. The next morning, Tomas and I went to work finding some way to melt our resident Wicked Witch of the West. Our first issue would be the children. We needed them out, and safe from Basket Case's control. My uncle had struggled for years finding a cure that would neutralize the spell Basket Case had over the children. He wasn't successful, instead choosing to keep the children under strict surveillance until the spell dissipated from them. Similar to detoxing, the process was difficult and time-consuming. He did, however, come up with a possible theory on how to cure Basket Case's little demon spawn. While sneaking through one of her old lairs, he found a special case, one made to hold a glass eye. Having blinded Basket Case before, it made sense that her powers were in some way related to her sight. The glass eye could be the source of her power, since blinding her didn't fully break the spell. Maybe the spell was maintained because the glass eye still worked whether it had dirt on it or not. Tomas said with some prep time, he could have something ready to neutralize the eye. Main problem would be finding somewhere to put the prepared spell. The bigger the magic effect, the more complicated and less mobile the spell can be. It'd need to be real big to get whatever kind of arcane mess Basket Case could cook up. We ended up choosing to put it in the living room. We drew a massive chalk circle filled with interlocking patterns and sigils. Candles were placed at random around the border of the circle. Nothing could disturb the thing, so we needed to squeeze around it like Harriet's desk to get from one side of the living room to the other. Mapping the current victims of Basket Case, we built a zone of activity for our big nanny from hell. We marked the center of the zone as a possible entry into Basket Case's lair and got ready to look for it around town. We rented a van and filled the back with rope and other equipment to make exploring her lair easier. Once again, Tomas and I were doing a stakeout at night for the great and terrible basket case. The clock hit 2, and we were starting to feel the boredom bug set in.
"So, any plans for what to do with the money?"
Tomas asked me. "Well, we don't need to do anything with it other than buy groceries," I said, keeping my eyes on the binoculars.
"Aw, don't be like that, man. It's $12,000. That's 3 whole zeros. We can have fun with it,"
Tomas said. "What do you want to do with it?" I asked.
Well, since we cleaned house, I was thinking we could redecorate."
I considered it for a second. "If we live through this, I'll let you redecorate."
"Yes!"
Tomas pumped his fists in victory. As we kept watch, a man wandered around the crosswalk in front of us. Circling the air as if looking for something, his eyes eventually landed on the van. He walked straight towards us, tapping the passenger window. I rolled down the window a hair's length down. "Hey," the man said.
Hey?
Tomas and I said. You cops or something?" the man said. Tomas looked at me confused. I shrugged. Tomas turned back to the man.
"Not that we know of."
"Yeah, we're sitting in a van with binoculars for another reason," I said. "Ah, great. I was standing at the corner to buy sneakers, and I don't want the cops to think I'm—" The man gestured at the air. "You know." He then laughed. "Yeah, totally," I said.
"Nothing weird about that at all,"
Tomas said. "Cool, great, yeah." The man paused for an uncomfortable amount of time. "You guys got tissues?" "Yeah, sure," I said, trying my best to get rid of him. Pulling a package of tissues out, I looked up to see the guy was gone. He had sprinted down the block and turned on one of the corners out of view. "What the—" Before I finished the sentence, Tomas pulled me down into the car's leg space. I was about to curse Tomas out when a familiar yellow light hit the van's dash. Yellow eyes reflected off the mirrors, creeping closer with each wet thud. Like trumpets commemorating her arrival, the low growls of children soon followed. Their legs scurried on concrete. A few landed on top of the van, the sound rumbling the inside, us included. They crawled down the front window, sniffing at the air. Basket Case's eyes went over the now empty front seats like spotlights. I held my breath, my body locking in place. Then the light left the car, the snarls becoming distant before disappearing. Air entered my lungs again, my chest heavier than it was a few seconds ago. We pulled ourselves up, our plan coming back into focus. Slumped into my chair, I asked Tomas if he was ready.
"As I'll ever be,"
Tomas said, rolling up his sleeves. Rolling out the doors, we ran to the back and grabbed all the equipment we'd need to face Basket Case. I lugged a backpack. A rope and a pair of heavy-duty flashlights rustled inside. Tomas brandished his anti-Basket Case amulet, humming his incantation as he ran. We kept just out of earshot, stalking her around whatever thing we could hide it behind. The deeper into town, the more erratic her movements became. She followed the streets one way and bulldozed through fences on another. We were beginning to think she had lost it. Stopping at a brick wall, she ran her hands across the rough surface. Her children played guard dog, watching her back for any intruders. They weren't very good spotters. We'd been hiding behind a row of mailboxes. After moving a hand from one brick to another, Basket Case stepped away from the wall. A crack appeared down the middle of its mortar. The wall parted and slid open like a curtain. Beams of light crept from the opening, making it impossible to see what was inside. Basket Case disappeared into the light along with her children, the wall closing behind her. It clicked together like a puzzle piece, the crack resealing itself back to normal. "Well, crap. I was hoping she lived in a hole or something," I said to Tomas. We waited a few minutes, making sure she wouldn't catch us trying to open her door. Getting closer, we found no discernible symbols. "Maybe it's activated by touch, like a trapdoor," I suggested. I started running my hands over the brick. Tomas followed suit.
"Wait a second,"
Tomas said. I stopped. Tomas pointed at one of the bricks.
"Feel that."
I touched the brick. It felt colder than the others, but was otherwise normal. "It's a bit cold," I said.
"Of course,"
Tomas cheered. "I'm not following."
"Oh, sorry."
Tomas collected himself.
"This might sound a bit weird, but have you ever felt off before, like when you're somewhere abandoned or holding something someone feels attached to?"
"Sometimes. Why?" I said.
"Half of the time anyone ever gets that feeling, it's because of magic. Technically, everyone can feel magic. It's kind of like instinct, but most people can't identify why they feel it. That brick has a slight magic aura. So small that anyone unfamiliar with it wouldn't recognize it, Tomas explained. Nodding along, I said, "You think adding magic to these areas could activate it?" "You're getting it now," Tomas said. "Then let's get to it," I grinned. I stepped back and let Tomas do his thing. With a better idea on what to look for, Tomas found each point of aura. Each one he found, he could add a small bit of his own magic to it. On the final point, the door activated. We shielded our eyes from the light as it opened. Walking through, the light disappeared, and we could see again. Inside was a massive complex resembling a twisted dungeon. Torches lit the area. Brick archways lined the walls. We were closer to the ceiling than to the floor. Beside us were stairs that led deeper into the underground complex. There was no turning back at that point. Whatever we met down there, we would have to face it alone. I turned to Tomas, nodding if he was ready. He gave back a determined smile, nodding back. At least I had Tomas. I took out the flashlights, and we began the descent. The stairs spiraled downwards. Pipes jutted out of the corners, rusted and rotting. Beads of water sweated off the walls. The closer to the bottom, the darker it got. Soon the only sources of light were the ones we brought with us. We wandered about, looking for where basket case could have gone. Tomas poked my back to get my attention. He pressed his finger against his lip, guiding me to one side of the wall. He waved one arm towards a dark area of the wall. In response, 2 torches lit parallel to each other. Hidden amongst the darkness was a hallway. I stepped past Tomas, going deeper into the hall. After a certain increment, another set of torches would light the way. The further we went, the more it became apparent that the torches were revealing one thing and obscuring another. The ceiling and walls were pitch black. The only thing we could see was the path. I wasn't an expert in magic, but it wasn't crazy to imagine these torches working in bizarre ways. "You think magic can make something like this?" I whispered to Tomas. "Hard to say. None of this is really my ballpark," Tomas whispered back. "Then we better learn quick." We kept going, soon running out of torches to guide us. "Dude, I can't see anything," Tomas said. "We can't see," I repeated back to myself. I got a shot of inspiration. "On the count of 3, we both switch our lights off," I whispered to Tomas. He nodded back. "All right, 3. Flicking the switch, we allowed ourselves to be drowned out by darkness. The world turned quiet around us. I breathed in and out, closing my eyes. When I opened them, a pinprick of light appeared in my distant vision. "Come on, that's our way out," I waved to Tomas. "Huh, how'd you come up with that?" Tomas asked. "It's not crazy to think she designed her dungeon to cater to eyes that were used to the darkness," I said. Tomas patted my shoulder. "And you said you were just short of clueless." Good thing it was dark, so Tomas couldn't see how red my face was. The light grew as we got closer. The sound of rushing water filled our ears, a sign that we were going in the right direction. Making our way out of the tunnel, the world was again illuminated. This new room was massive, dwarfing anything I'd been in before. Sewage pipes stuck out from the walls, water rushing out of them. Large moats carved into the ground collected this water around grates, forming whirlpools. Makeshift bridges were built, which I assumed were made to make crossing these moats less dangerous. Made from scavenged wood and PVC pipe, they looked ready to break at the slightest suggestion. Taking this all in, the room still seemed to narrowly avoid feeling real. It could be heard and felt, yet still remained in the realm of dreams. Maybe it was the sewage gas talking, but something was telling me that none of this would exist without basket case. We made our way over the first and second bridges, plastic pipes rattling under us. We were standing between 2 moats when we heard a voice behind us. "You made it a lot farther than I expected." Tomas and I swung around to meet the voice. A man slightly older than us stood at the first bridge we crossed. He wore a full black suit and a smile too smug for its own good. His hair was platinum blonde and curled into strange shapes above his head. Tomas was shocked to see him, and that was the only clue I needed. "Percival Mey, I presume," I said. "You're a damn fine guesser." The hollow sound of feet on PVC came behind us, along with the scattering sounds of basket case's children army. We were trapped.
It's great to meet Mr. Whitlock's second choice as successor. Second? I repeated back. Basket Case loomed over us as Percival spoke further. Indeed, but let's talk about this over tea. Who knows? It might save your life. Chapter 7. Judging from my limited experience, I'd say Basket Case had it good when it came to monster lairs. Stone scaffolding surrounded the walls, which gave easy access to the exposed pipes built out of reach. This complex of pipes was used as convenient storage to hold both children and knickknacks. The focal point of the room was the circular table, which Basket Case used for tea parties. Porcelain children surrounded the table, each getting their own plastic chair. She even had Matilda, the doll I'd left her. They were the cleanest things in the room, and also the creepiest. Tomas was not having a good time. We sat at the table, our butts sore sitting on plastic kids' chairs. Percival sat across in his very own chair, elbows resting on the table. All the while, Basket Case prepared us tea. Using an electric kettle, she poured out hot water into mugs. Everyone had an animal-shaped mug, apart from Basket Case, who had a mug in the shape of a baby's head. Tomas got a beaver, Percival a fox, and I got a crow. Blowing away the steam, I took a sip of the tea. For a sewer creature, Basket Case had good taste in tea. Basket Case responded with a muted nod. "How long have you two been working as occult investigators?" Percival asked us. "A few weeks," I said. "Yeah, more or less," Tomas added. Percival took a sip of his own tea. "Impressive. From how Basket Case described it, you two narrowly avoided being murdered by her." "That doesn't seem like much of a compliment," I said. "Wait, you can talk to her?" Tomas asked. "In your line of work, it very much is." Percival then said to Tomas, "And yes, unlike you, I can understand her." I looked around, trying to see what he could have gained from being here. Percival noticed and answered, "I know it's difficult to imagine how any of this benefits me, lacking the bigger picture of it all." "Context is very much appreciated," Tomas said. "Let's just say I've been doing some soul-searching," Percival said. "I'm sure the vapors here really helped," I said. "Rest assured, Mr. Whitlock, I have not been held up in these sewers this entire time." Basket Case handed Percival a small pouch, which he placed in his coat pocket. "I've been exploring, making deals, and gaining the knowledge I need to succeed." "And what does the success mean for everyone else?" I asked. "At this point in your journey, I don't think you'd believe me if I was honest," he said. Hearing that, I just stared at Percival. He didn't make sense to me. He'd been friendly to us, even more than his sister, yet speaking to him felt like drowning shots of snake venom. He had a rug pull waiting for us. I just couldn't tell what. "Seems you already got it all accounted for, so what are you talking to us for?" I said. "I'm only one man, Mr. Whitlock, and the supernatural world counts as Jews and bodies. With your expertise, I could overcome what would otherwise be of great danger to me and my plans," Percival said. "So you want us as lackeys?" I bit back. "Yeah!" Thomas added with a dramatic flair. "You'd be more than just that, believe me. Besides, you two are forgetting the situation you are in. The only real way out of this is working with me, and I'm offering you rewards even after that," Percival said. I eyed Percival's coat. The main power he had over us was knowledge. He knew what was going on in the town and in the supernatural world. Yet he was desperate to work with us. He had to have known we were still new to this, so that couldn't be the real reason. There was some power we had over him. We just didn't know what that power was. I needed more information. I crossed my arms, leaning back. "Show me what that pouch can do, and then I'll think about us working together." Percival's mood changed. His lips curved to a frown, and his brow furrowed. He sighed and said, "If that's what convinces you, then fine." Taking out the pouch, Percival revealed its contents. Inside was a fine, glittering dust. Tomas gave me an uneasy look. "It's called life dust, and it does this," Percival said. He tossed handfuls of the dust on the porcelain dolls strewn about the table. The dust settled on the dolls, covering them in sparkling shine. One by one, the dolls jerked to life. Getting from their chairs, the dolls began moving around the room. They danced, drew with chalk, and wandered up scaffolding. They remained silent. their faces lacking the muscles to move lips. Basket Case watched, more interested with the dolls than the deal happening in front of her. "Huh," I said under my breath.
"Dear hellfire, this is what nightmares are made of,"
Tomas said louder. Tomas tried his best to stay away from the dolls, sitting with his legs tucked to his chest. Watching this weird display, I felt a tug on my jacket. It was Matilda, holding her arms out for an embrace. I picked her up, letting her rest on my knee. Tomas leaned forward and frowned at me. "This is only a taste of what life dust can do. Now the choice is yours. Leave with me or stay with her." Percival gestured at a basket case. I tapped my finger on the table, searching for some way to buy more time for Tomas and me to get out. We'd been stripped of all our weapons and had no running start. I was ready to cave to any demands when Matilda gave me a soft and comforting hug. At that moment, I had a plan. "No, I don't think we'll work with you," I said. Percival kept a straight face, while Tomas looked shocked and confused. "Explain," Percival said.
"Yeah, dude, please explain,"
Tomas said. "I've seen what your sister was capable of. She could barely imagine doing anything useful with the time she had. It was all optics. You're no different, and I won't work with you like my uncle did," I said. Percival went silent, his eyes square on my own. "When I first saw you, I was a bit shocked, not because of your skill or your circumstances. In fact, it was the opposite. I was underwhelmed. To see one of the greatest men I've known now have his legacy get hijacked by someone with little to no drive is disappointing. It seems those who make the world have to be born with it. Take care, Jonathan." Percival adjusted his coat, got up, and disappeared out the door. Tomas lost his cool, begging for the former mayor to be more sparing.
"Hey, wait, I'm sure you'll reconsider if you just..."
Tomas tugged at my jacket.
"Jonathan, you'll think about it, right? Jonathan? Oh, come on, man."
Basket Case didn't waste a second to drag us up the scaffolding and reward us with our very own prison cell. Plastic pipes were our prison bars, and a sewer pipe was our cell. I sat against the rusting walls. Meanwhile, Tomas paced back and forth, refusing to talk to me. He had good reason to. I couldn't fill him in on the plan while Basket Case was in earshot. To him, I just sacrificed our lives for nothing. Time dragged on, and Tomas began complaining aloud.
"Why? Just why? Like, what's your damage? We could have just agreed to work with him. Yeah, I get it. Gotta stick to Mars and all that. Plus he's a huge prick. But I'd rather be listening to him drone on for the next year than starve to death in a sewer surrounded by creepy dolls."
I let Tomas go on, instead using my time to watch Basket Case. His voice blended into the rest of the background static. Morning came, and Basket Case dozed off, removing her right eye just before falling into deep sleep.
"Heck, we could have ditched him the moment he wasn't looking,"
Tomas went on. I finally responded to Tomas. That would have been the wrong move.
"How is that worse than being imprisoned by a literal hag?"
Tomas exclaimed. "Because for whatever reason, Percival needs us. The more we're in his periphery, the more likely he'll get exactly what he wants," I said. Tomas crossed his arms.
"He sure won't get anything from us dead."
"Exactly. If he thinks he left us for dead, he won't bother factoring us into his plans, giving us the wiggle room we need," I explained.
"Well, that requires us escaping."
Tomas stopped when someone tapped on the bars. It was Matilda, holding Basket Case's eye along with all our equipment. "First," Tomas finished. I gave Tomas a smirk.
"No,"
Tomas let out. "Yep," I said back.
"I refuse."
"It's either escaping with her or staying here," I said.
"I hate you so much right now,"
he said. "I had a feeling you would." We suited up in the prison pipe, making sure everything was accounted for. I presented Tomas with a glass eye and said, "You think you can control the kids with this eye?"
"In theory, yeah,"
Tomas said. "Well, in theory, we also have to rescue the kids," I said back. Tomas rolled his eyes, grabbing the glass eye from my hand. The eye was an opaque yellow like a streetlight. It was smooth, but not in the way glass is smooth. The feeling was more similar to that of a rock or pearl. Tomas took out the quartz from his anti-basket case talisman and replaced it with the eye. Once the new talisman was ready, Tomas said,
"Well, we'll need to get to the ground floor, just to be sure she isn't awake to counter it."
I nodded, and Matilda unlocked the gate for us to leave. We tiptoed down the scaffolding, feeling each step for possible groans or creaks. Our eyes stayed alert for any disturbance in Basket Case's rest. We snuck over to the entrance. Readying himself, Tomas whispered his incantation. The eye glowed softly, a slow hum emanating from it. My hand hovered over my pistol. My eyes switched between the amulet and basket case. As the chant droned on, sounds of movement came from the pipes above us. Swarming down like insects, children crawled out the pipes and down towards us. They stopped in front of us, sniffing at the air. Their bodies were still mutated and beast-like, eyes milky white. Our mouths were wide open. It actually worked. We were about to jump in celebration when we noticed Basket Case turning in her sleep. Slinking out of Basket Case's abode and into the wider sewage complex, we hoped to make it back to the hallway and up the stairway out. We went over the third and second bridge, the hallway close in sight, yet in that adrenaline state, so the sounds of rushing water, I could hear the sound of quiet chanting behind us.
"Get down!"
Tomas and I ducked, a yellow fireball buzzing over us. Matilda and I dived one way, while Tomas and the children dived the other. The bolt exploded where we were seconds before. I held tight to Matilda, using my body to cushion her fall. My vision became blurred, not helped by the fact my left ear was ringing. The smoke cleared to reveal Basket Case. Her doll stood guard around her. She gave off a low growl, her last eye glowing bright. The children swung and ran to Basket Case like moths to a flame. Tomas stood back and yelled,
"Oh, no, you don't!"
Brandishing his amulet, Tomas made his own response to Basket Case's magic. The glass eye hummed louder, its light blinding. The children halted and raced back to Tomas. Basket Case wailed out with her arm outstretched. Her remaining eye matched the brightness of her stolen one, and the children again stood frozen. The children wandered back and forth, their minds in a magic tug-of-war. Tomas strained, trying to pull the children to his side, his legs close to giving out from under him. With each passing second, the children came closer under the hag's control. As Tomas struggled, I knew I had one final line of defense. I pulled out my uncle's pistol and aimed it at Basket Case. My hand shook, the tremors making aim almost impossible. My breathing became uneasy, and doubt shattered my concentration. Doom was ready to set in when Matilda leaned into my periphery. The little porcelain doll patted her small hand against my shoulder, her best attempt at comforting me. She directed me with her other hand, pointing it at Basket Case's head. I aimed my gun where she was pointing, pulled back the hammer, and then finally the trigger. The gun kicked back, its bullet cracking the air around it. Whizzing past the two bridges, the bullet went into Basket Case's only eye. It popped, and a light squelching sound echoed out. Shutting her socket to hold in her destroyed eye, Basket Case curled and shrieked. Her hand pressed over her eye, her body collapsing onto the cold floor, shuddering. I took in a deep breath, relief rushing over me. The children, now under Tomas's control, surged over to him. Right when we were starting to feel hopeful, the ground under us began shaking. Cracks formed on the ground and ceiling, pieces of bricking falling out and onto us. Picking up Matilda, I ran with Tomas towards the hallway entrance. Tomas went in first with all the children. Before I followed, I turned to get one last look at Basket Case. Her dolls surrounded her. Each of them attempted to comfort her as Matilda did to me. She stayed curled on the ground, quivering. As the roof collapsed down on them, the dolls stared back at me. I left soon after. Running down the hallway, we made our way up the stairs that led out. I stayed behind with Matilda, making sure there were no stragglers. Stammering up the stairs, we stopped at the wall as Tomas tried to do the wall puzzle.
"Oh, God, was it that brick or that one?"
"Any time now, Tomas," I said.
"That one, then, there,"
Tomas said, pressing the last brick. The door opened at a crawling speed. With the ceiling ready to go down, we had all the children leave first. Tomas and I jumped through, the ceiling collapsing behind us. Hitting the ground, both of us groaned out in pain. Rolling onto our backs, we presented our tired faces to the blue morning sky. Clouds rolled through, the sun cutting past it all. Our brains began to settle. I started laughing, and Tomas joined in. Rolling in the dirt and gravel, we kept laughing, happy to be alive.
Chapter 8.
The wicked witch was dead, and there was still more for us to do. First up was making that army of monsters' kids a bit less literal. We decided to leave the kids in the van while we did the ritual to change them back to normal. It was easier for us, since we would be taking them back as soon as the ritual ran its course. It did take us a while to finish it, or rather, it took a while for Tomas to. Poor guy had to sit in one place for 4 hours, doing nothing except chanting. All that time to kill gave me a moment to think. Something hadn't felt quite right. We had won, but I still felt like we weren't really the heroes for it. I pulled the mayor's still fresh check from my pocket. I took a good look at it. It was marked by someone who kisses babies while signing death warrants. I never liked having filth as bedfellows, and I wasn't going to start with her. Finishing the ritual, we got to return the kids back to their parents. It wasn't easy, most of the kids having damaged or lost phones. We drove all across town, delivering one child after another. About halfway through delivering all the kids, we happened upon City Hall on the way to meeting with another parent. I asked Thomas if we could make a stop there, saying I had to have a word with the good mayor, which wasn't too far off. Bursting through her door, I slammed Maylee's check on her stone slab of a desk. She looked up at me confused. "Deal's off, Maylee," I said. "Off? How?" she stammered. "I'm not going to be part of your political stunt," I said. "What about Basket Case?" she asked. "Dead as far as I know," I said. "What?" Maylee stood up, changing her tone in a heartbeat. "I mean, what a relief. She was such a plague on this town." "Glad you agree. Consider it charity," I said. I headed for the door when Maylee said, "You're really going to leave after that? The election, my campaign. You know what this means for our business relationship?" "This doesn't really mean anything. Think about it. Try to find someone who can do things my uncle and I can do." "I doubt you will," I responded. Maylee went quiet. "Yeah, you know my number," I said. "This isn't over, Whitlock. I'll find someone. You hear me?" she shouted before I shut the door on her. I was surprised Tomas wasn't pissed when I told him I turned the money down. He just gripped the steering wheel hard and then sighed. He was, however, disappointed not to have a chance to redecorate like he wanted. When I asked him why, he said, "You know, I thought you lost your mind on those sewers. To me, you're risking our lives over things we had no business in. But then I remembered my mom, and how she'd react if I up and disappeared one day. It made me a bit less mad, knowing we were helping people who had dealt with that." I sat in the passenger side, quiet. "Just tell me what you're planning first, man," Tomas added. "Yeah, let's make group huddles mandatory before each mission." "Dude, that's what I'm saying," Tomas said. One last stop was an antique store owned by the grandparents of one of the children. It was night, and everyone involved was exhausted. Tomas chose to stay in the car while I brought the kid to the grandparents. As the kid reunited with her grandparents, one of them asked how they could ever repay me. I looked at Tomas, and then at the shelves lined head to toe in antiques. Actually, I can think of something. It goes without saying that Mr. Armageddon went crazy with decorating. Framed posters of old magicians lined the living room walls. Beside the couch was a display with a monkey's paw inside. On one corner was a lifelike statue of a Sasquatch. Across from it, a replica of a sarcophagus. As revenge for me getting Matilda, Tomas left a clown mannequin in my room. He got what he wanted. I couldn't even open my eyes without that thing scaring the hell out of me. It seemed like this week's problems were settled, all except one. "Do we really need to keep her?" Tomas said as he watched Matilda. Sitting crisscrossed on the living room floor, Matilda drew on the whiteboard we gave her to communicate with. Tomas sat on the couch, trying to be comfortable with Matilda there too. "Are you sure about this? I'm sure a retirement home would love her," Tomas added. "Yep, she helped us escape, so she's basically part of the team now." Tomas grimaced at me, and then at Matilda. We were about to fall back into silence when a question came to mind. "You know, we never found out what Percival was planning next," I said. "How could we? He was being pretty vague about the whole thing," Tomas said. I don't know. All I'm asking for is one extra clue. As I said that, Matilda got up with her whiteboard and walked towards me. Writing with a purple Sharpie, Matilda said, I know. I sat up from my seat. You do? Matilda nodded. How? I asked. Matilda wrote down. I remember before life. Before life? So you remember your existence before you were even given life? I asked. Matilda nodded, writing. He talks a lot. I snickered. He does, doesn't he? Wait, if you remember hearing your surroundings before being alive, does that mean you remember when I... Tomas went quiet. Matilda showed her board to Thomas and wrote, It's okay. You didn't know. Still, I'm sorry, Tomas said. Matilda went over and hugged Tomas. As expected, Tomas bunched up the moment she did. He didn't hug her back, and it wasn't hard to see he was waiting for her to stop. What did you overhear? Any words or details that come to mind? Matilda drew on her board. Revival Festival. Revival Festival? What could he be doing at that? Tomas queried. You know what that is? I asked Tomas. Yeah, it's pretty cool. You dress up how you want and go around and do stuff, Tomas said. When does it happen? I said. Every November, said Tomas. Oh, we should go. We can theme our clothes together. That's in 2 weeks. If that's where Percival is going, then yeah, let's go to Revival Fest, I said. Yes! I'll get the sewing machine. Now we had something to go off. Get into Revival Fest and collect clues to find out what Percival Mey was up to. Also, maybe have fun while we're at it.
Thank you, dear listener, for listening to Midnight Archive. We will be back next week with another offering from a writer of fantasy, horror, science fiction, or romantasy. Please support this week's author by checking out the links in the show notes to buy the book or follow them on social media. Until next week, stay safe, if you can.